Hello, and welcome to the second video in my series on running, whilst playing Sonic, the world's most famous runner, and definitely the world's most fastest hedgehog, although hedgehogs are deceptively quick. In the background, I am playing Sonic 2, which I haven't played since the Sega Mega Drive. And there's an awful lot of nostalgia that came up for me whilst replaying it. But the video itself, the talk I'm giving, is about the therapeutic benefits of running. So for me, running is a space to reflect, for mindfulness, to challenge myself a little bit, and to give myself some self-compassion when I'm struggling on a run. I'm also part of a couple of groups, and this video was based off of the Couch to 5K UK Facebook group. They're a really wonderfully warm, supportive group that I thoroughly encourage you to join if you are thinking about starting running or if you're already a runner. And this video is based off of asking that group the question, what does being a runner mean to you? So the rest of this video is reflecting and commenting and quoting some of the themes from the answers that I gave. And my hope in making this video is that it will help you to realize some of the benefits therapeutically that running and maybe some other hobbies could have for you. I do name people in these articles before quoting them. And I want to give a quick disclaimer to say that everybody who has used a quote has consented to their name or a pseudonym being used and for their quotes to be either directly copied or paraphrased. So we have got 9 different categories of responses, and the first category is the existential. So when I say existential reasons for running, I really mean coming to terms with aging and our mortality. There are other existential issues, so things like purpose and hobbies, such as running, can add a lot to that, but purpose was less of a theme that came up in the interviews. So when I say existential, I mostly mean aging, capacity, and death. Let's start our quotes off on the existential. Alex Sexton talked about accepting the realities of life. He said, and I quote, I used to play a lot of sports 5 to 6 times a week. Football, rowing, canoeing, cycling. Then I got married, my career took off, and I had a child at home, and well, life took over. Suddenly I hit 47, trousers, they became tighter, belt had to be let out by a hole, and not being able to keep up with having a 8-year-old son who wants to play sports. The dawn of realization that life had taken over hit home for me. Running, it's my way of challenging myself to get fitter, acknowledging that I'm not the 18 to 30-year-old I used to be, and accepting that I've got to get my ass in gear. So most people who start running on the Couch to 5K program, they're not professional athletes, but people like you or me who were probably fairly sedentary and haven't exercised in a decade. We may remember actively playing outside when we were teenagers, sprinting around without injuring ourselves, or having those muscle aches and pains the next day. And we probably didn't need to schedule in time to exercise as a teenager. We didn't have to train particularly hard if we were doing an event like a race. We were just naturally full of energy, and our lives and sport and movement happened organically. For me growing up, I played a lot of football, and naturally in running around, I was training for running. Being an adult's different, and returning to exercise as a adult who suddenly needs to schedule in these kind of things, it allows us to encounter our fragility. the reality of our age. And that fragility, that can often be masked by the demands of life. We can sort of forget how unfit our bodies have become. When we encounter that fragility, though, there can be a realization that life has a time limit. And living like this, memento mori, this can add a richness, a appreciation of what we can do now, in this moment, in the body we inhabit, and respecting its capacity. Another runner, Andy Kay, said, imagining getting to an age where I couldn't do anything and thinking about when I could but didn't motivates him. He doesn't want to regret not using his body when he's older. He wants to be able to look back and know that when his body was optimal, he was using it. Personally, through my own running journey, the last 2 or so years, there have been a fair few injuries and setbacks, and those reset me right back to the beginning. That's happened several times. And right now, I'm running at less than a third of a distance of what I could do last summer due to setbacks, health reasons. And for me, there's a growing appreciation for what I'm running, what my body can accomplish when it can accomplish it. I know I might never beat my personal best 5K. And you know what? That's all right. Because running, it's a journey of respect for the body and what it can do as it ages and develops. I actually have a memory of, this was actually a while ago, a run around the park, and I saw this elderly gentleman. He was walking the same track I was jogging around slowly, had a limp, and he was using a cane. And we only acknowledged each other very briefly, a little smile as we passed one another, but I remember feeling a sense of gratitude, respect, and I really appreciated what I could do, but also appreciated him getting out and exercising as best he could. We smiled, we acknowledged one another, and in that moment, I was all the more encouraged about having the capacity to exercise alongside the awe of knowing that I also will age. That one day I won't be able to jog, I'll lose that capacity. Just like little health issues, little setbacks, coughs, colds, injuries, they set me back. This isn't permanent being able to jog, so I want to appreciate it while I can. See, running is about being able to use the body with what it's capable of. It's about acknowledging its limits and how it will change. It will change from its prime, from what the body used to be able to accomplish. But let's be compassionate to what the body's capacity is today, rather than chasing after the fitness of a teenager or what we were in our 20s. Those days have gone, and that's all right. It's just about embracing the moment. Another existential theme, maybe this is 1.1, another existential theme. Claire Galt, she said, I'm running from death. Provocative, isn't it? I'm running from death. So when we exercise, we are literally running from death. We're boosting our life expectancy. It's hard to get exact figures. Had a bit of a Google adventure, and I got figures from between 3 and 12 years added to your life expectancy, depending on whether or not you are a runner. And another site reckoned that every hour you spend running adds 7 hours to your life. The point I'm trying to make is that running sort of freezes time as we grow healthier. We are, in effect, running from our own mortality by becoming healthier. And then the second part around running from death is about bereavement, which I'll pick up later in this video. Death, it can really shift our existential reality, and our grief can throw up questions of purpose, meaning, and these deep, incredible pangs of painful grief around missing someone we've lost. And many runners within the group, as I'll share later, have talked about how running has helped them in their grief, that it compassionately allows them to feel or express the pangs of grief within the run. Which brings me on to our second point, and that's a chance to process. Life is busy. It can be hard to simply take time for us in a way that helps us to process everything that's bobbling around. And there are lots of ways to process. For me, running is a great way to do it. For other people, it may be mindfulness or even taking that leap into seeing a therapist and having an hour dedicated to you. When we're swept up in the busyness of life, time for us to process can be difficult. We're sort of too in it, in the busyness, to be able to reflect. And something that Amanda Harrison said, she said, running gives me a headspace, and that's the main reason I get up and go out. Once I've got my headphones on, I get lost in my own thoughts and my music. It gives me a chance to think over problems and helps me make sense of any shit that may be happening. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I smile and sing out loud, much to the surprise of other people. But I get home feeling refreshed and ready to deal with any more of that shit that life has for me. A jog gives us space to allow into our awareness the thoughts and feelings that are pent up within us. And there was somebody else similarly to Amanda, someone else, Nikki Jewell, who said, to me, running means a way of letting movement jumble a restless mind into order and perspective. I started running because Russia's war on Ukraine affected me badly. I've worked with a close team of Ukrainians since 2018, and all through 2022, I had done no exercise at all. I was too anxious to leave the news because if I close down my computer, I don't know what's happened. Moving helped to reassure some of that anxiety and forces my what if panicky thoughts, those what if panicky thoughts into perspective. I only run outside, and being in nature, that helps too. I don't listen to any music, I don't think too consciously, but my mind goes into a sort of loose flow state that just ends up being calming. You can ask many runners why they started, and they say things like fitness, health, because of weight gain. But the discovery that running can be a reflective space to process and the immense benefits to our mental health can end up being the prime reason that people end up running and can surpass the fitness benefits. Someone else, Laura Arthur, said, for me personally, it's about the benefits to my mental health, and the fitness aspect comes second. I've got depression, and it helps me cope along with my meds. I like that. I like that, even that last line, it helps me cope along with my meds. There's something about practicing self-care that comes with part of holistic support, including medical interventions, alongside that time to honor our inner voice. Running alone isn't going to solve all of our problems. Gosh, I wish it did. That would make life so much easier. But having a space to process alongside other interventions like medication, like support, can make a big difference. Self-disclose, for me, I started running because belly fat started to come on my stomach in my mid-30s. That's not the same reason I run anymore. Nowadays, I run because I love that chance to reflect, and I really notice the benefits to self-compassion, to mindful presence just for my mental well-being. It does my head and my emotions good. Running gives us chance for our feelings and thoughts to do their thing and for us to just observe them. It gives chance to struggle with the run itself and to be kind to ourselves, to adjust and even surprise and inspire ourselves when we finish. It gives us chance to notice that inner dialogue and how kind or maybe even critical it might be. And that helps us to be nicer to ourselves. And many of the benefits of mindfulness, so things like being present, noticing the body, being an observer, we can gain those from a jog. Our third point is maybe an extension of the second, and that's providing time for us. Hannah More said, "As a busy mum and teacher, it's lovely to have that bit of quality me time. I am proud of myself and love that my husband and my children are proud of me too, and they encourage me." Her response was pretty similar to Shavona Timmins. Shavona said, "I'm in my 40s, I'm overweight, I'm unfit, and I'm struggling with depression with a little sprinkle of anxiety." Running to me is not just about getting fitter, but also the knowledge that I'm doing something to look after me. I always tend to put other people first, but if I'm not feeling good in myself, I can't help others. So I need to take care of me, myself too. And it may not give me the runner's high like it used to, again, probably due to meds, but I make a point of patting myself on the back when I've achieved something like completing the Couch to 5K. I'm an introvert, and as an introvert, spending time alone enables me to be more present, more social, more productive. Time alone isn't a luxury for me, it's a necessity to function. As a teacher and a mum, Hannah has an awful lot of responsibility. And Shavona says she's so used to putting other people first. But this is all different in running, just as it's different for me when I run. It allows us to do an activity for us, to prioritize ourselves. And what's more, I really like what Hannah said around her family being proud of her and Shavona being able to recognize her own accomplishments. When we've got loads of responsibilities, be that Hannah's class or family or whatever it is, when we've got loads of responsibilities, we can sort of pressure ourselves that we somehow don't matter. These responsibilities, they matter more, and then we end up having no time for us. And there's a weird irony that carving out more time for us, scheduling more time for us, seems to give more to give to others. David Hartley said, "Running gives me time to myself, to be able to focus on my mental health, to reflect when things have gone badly, or well, during the day. It's much more than the physical side of exercise. Not that that's a bad thing, of course, seeing my weight go down and my confidence as a runner go up. I'll never be the fastest runner, nor will I ever do long distances, and I'm absolutely delighted with that thought. It's an hour or so to recharge the mental batteries and feel better at the end of it." One of the things that inspires me with David's comment was the recognition of the benefits of taking time to recharge, but not having that constant striving to be better, to do better, whatever that means or look like, by trying to always up your pace or your distance. I feel quite inspired by David's words. The self-confidence and that the recharge that he gains from running is enough. He doesn't need to strive for better. He's becoming better. So maybe you, the listener, are finding yourself burnt out, irritable, And as though things in your life are all constant ruddy demands, maybe this is what you're craving too, just a space for you. Our fourth category is around changing our perspective of ourselves. I remember when I was a teenager, I broke an ingrained childhood belief that I was stupid somehow because I learnt to play chess, and chess is an intelligent game, so you know what, maybe I'm all right. And there was something that Shriram said. She said, running gives me the confidence that if I put my mind to something, I can do it. Many of us have taken on messages at school that we are unfit, or we simply believe that we cannot reach these milestones, that somehow we are defective. I'll never be able to run 5K. Running often has different goals we can set, whether that be to run faster or further, and there can be changes in our self-belief as we hit those milestones, as we manage to run that distance or that pace. It can challenge the voice inside our head that says that we are in some way limited or defective. We're not. And we can prove that damn voice wrong. Rachel von Hossel said, as a child and a young adult, I didn't think I could run. I'd always say that it came up in conversation, oh, I can't run for love or money. But now I run. I can run. Running reminds me of how capable I am, how capable both my body and my mind is, and how, should I want to, I can achieve anything, except perhaps becoming an astronaut, maybe in another life. And similarly, Hannah More said, I always believed I couldn't run after hating PE lessons as a child. I started Couch to 5K last June, and I still find it hard to believe that I am a runner. But I love the feeling I get during a run and at the end. I love challenging myself to go that little bit further. Human beings, we are not static creatures. We are always seeking to improve, to understand, to create meaning, to grow, to challenge. And Carl Rogers, the father of the person-centered approach to counseling, he called this the actualizing tendency. The part within us that feels a discomfort when things are not as we would like them or stagnating. A part of us that strives to balance our inner and outer world so that they fit to our ideals. What I'm saying is it is human to aspire for more. And running provides a little microcosm for us to realize that aspiration. We learn to set goals, to push ourselves slightly but not too hard, to be fluid rather than settling, to ever be changing, to be growing. And we can surprise ourselves in running as we hit those milestones and expand our awareness of what we're capable of. We can surprise ourselves, and that can be wonderfully applicable. Well, if I can do this, if I can run for 10 minutes, what else can I do? We can pack that up, digest it, and expand our self-belief. Our fifth category is safety. Claire Galt said, the word that leapt to my mind was freedom. Freedom from constraints, but also maybe from the clamour of modern life. And freedom could also mean safety. And ability to run could also quite literally mean safety. Think fight, flight, freeze, or faint, and more recently PAYS or APs. Please or APs, excuse me. Flight actually seems the safest and least compromising safety mechanism during danger. Being able to fly in danger, being able to run away, could literally keep us safe in a conflict. And emotionally, flight from conflict is often the most adaptive way to cope if we cannot avoid that conflict, control it, or combat it. So Claire is saying that running can be used as training to keep us safe if we need to escape, but can also be used as a way of pausing our problems and stresses, of getting away from them as flight. Excuse me. Similarly, Melissa Paramore said, if I'm upset or angry, I get all this pent-up adrenaline that I don't know what to do with, and I make very impulsive and reckless decisions. I have instead started running, and running with that energy. It stops the shaking and the pounding of the pavement. It helps me to let it all go and return in a much calmer state so that I can continue with my day. It turns me into someone who can cope better with life by a much healthier way. It gives me energy to get things done in the day, and for the duration of my run, I don't have to think. I just zone out with my music and I let my body feel this magic. For me, I set my personal best 5K on a trail run that I did while I was angry. There are lots of different grounding techniques. By all means, check out the video on grounding techniques on my channel. But there are lots of different grounding techniques that we can use when we're experiencing strong emotions. Now, typically for anger, more meditative approaches tend to be more effective than expressive or approaches that emphasize it. Running is a bit of a go-between. We can channel strong active feelings. By active, I mean they push us. Strong active feelings like anger, or Melissa's description of this energy that leads to recklessness. We can channel that into a run. And running can help us to feel, to notice. It can help us to be meditative. It can be grounding, all in an effective way. Whereas if we're full of energy that we don't know what to do with and can become impulsive, if I am angry, it can be more difficult to do more classical sitting meditations because our body wants to move. Like Melissa, our energy may be a risk. She said the word impulsive. Or like me, that anger can be internalized. I internalize anger in sometimes unhealthy ways that aren't great for my mental well-being. You might also be at risk of self-injurious behaviors like those I've mentioned. Maybe other things, self-harm, substance misuse, binging, coping techniques that hurt you or other people. I wonder, instead, when those intense feelings are coming up, could we use running for safety? Could we channel those impulses or feelings? Could we channel those into a tempo run? Our sixth category is freedom, which really stands out from Claire's example, and several other people also commented on this theme. Jane said, it's a chance to escape and not have to think about anything but my run. And Tracy Kuhn said, for me, being a runner means freedom and space, both mentally and physically. Just setting off and running almost gives me that invincibility I had as a child. When you think nobody can touch you, when you just run for the thrill of it. Although at 51, I also now run for the health benefits, and so my dodgy old knees don't seize up completely. I listen to music when I run. I find silence too distracting as I'm thinking about my breathing, etc., and how to do it right. With music playing, I can just lose myself and think things over in my head. It's similar to swimming, actually, for me. Kind of meditative. I just keep moving forward, and that somehow helps put my thoughts in order. The repetitiveness helps with it. I also had a bereavement last summer, and I didn't run for a couple of months. But running is definitely one of the things that have helped me through the first 6 months. I might wake up feeling horrible, but by the time I've come back from a run, I feel better, capable, more alive. I know I can get through another day. Let's talk a bit more about bereavement after Tracy's story there of herself and running for her. In 1995, a model of bereavement was developed called the dual processing model. And the dual processing model says that often when we are grieving, we oscillate, we switch like a pendulum between two different orientations. First orientation is loss. With loss, we feel the pangs of grief. We miss the person who has died. We're navigating a world without them. It's grief work. It's deeply painful. It's about engaging with the loss and oscillating to that other orientation of restoration. And restoration is as much a part of a grief as loss. Restoration is around distracting ourselves from the loss. It's around activity, adapting to a world without the deceased, finding new meaning in life and relationships, and generally it's about living. So what really stood out for me with Tracy's answer of how running has helped her process her bereavement was it touched on both orientations. So from the restoration orientation, running provides distraction, provides challenge, it provides a community and an alternate space for our focus than grief. And then on the loss orientation, running allows the brain to think and opportunity for us to be mindful of those thoughts and intense feelings that might arise in us. We can grieve on a run. And our loss can also be contained within that run. If feelings of loss become too overwhelming, we might be able to refocus attention on the body. It's kind of like somatic therapy. Refocus attention on the body, using the body as an anchor. Or maybe we want to speed up, or the opposite. We start to feel feelings of grief coming up, so we want to slow down so we can think more, so we can feel more, so that we can be more present with it. Gives us a way of controlling the emotional responses we feel in our loss. Our seventh category of responses is all around community. Helen Nolan said, "The connection of finding new friends of a similar tribe is a bonus. I think it's helped me to be more interested, less judgy, and more accepting to so many different people at different stages, doing different things for different reasons, but all of us are out there, we're all runners." And I really echo Helen's sentiment in just how supportive the running community is. Some of us in that community are beginners, some of us are more experienced. As we develop, we often remember what it was like to be a beginner. And we can share tips and support out of empathy for knowing what those hurdles were like when we first started out. Running can give perspective, seeing people as different and on a journey rather than beings we have to compete with. I benefit from being able to be advised myself and supported by other people. And I also benefit in being able to give that same advice and support. There's a toing and froing. And expressing vulnerability can very much help social connection, just as supporting others can. It tends to move friendships beyond the superficial, and the nature of running with the hurdles that it has within us gives a fairly safe, non-threatening activity to express vulnerability in. Personally, I have, in my running, been going through a series or a season of loss with setbacks from lung infections and recently from lower back pain, which is very much impacting on how I run. And through this loss, the community has been bloody brilliant with advice, with empathy, and with compassion. And that empathy and compassion in particular have been really helpful when I've struggled to give it to myself or I've kept comparing my performance to the Simon of last year. Also on community, many runners will run in groups and will have met friends physically through it. There are even actually regular running groups. Park Run, for example, is a 5K run that happens every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in most cities. For me personally, it's more about the freedom or reflectiveness. That's why I run. But although I don't directly tend to run with other people, the social stuff really crops up for me. I like to do events or network with community. Tracy Cunn, similar. She said, I do it on my own, but I also feel part of a community, whether that's through other runners saying hello as I'm out, or on pages like this, the Couch to 5K UK group or Strava. Runners support each other and seem genuinely thrilled when someone else falls in love with it. So whether you want to physically find people to have a gentle jog and chat with, or you're looking for a virtual community of mutual support, running can be a really good way to connect. Our 8th category is challenge and compassion. Running can lead to challenging ourselves, and this might mean running further. It might be pushing our pace up a little bit. It may be entering to a race or just going out on those days when it's a bit miserable and we don't really fancy it. And this can be healthy in our hobbies and provides a sense of mastery that can be quantified. You can measure it. There can also be some negative connotations around competition and pushing ourselves, in that it can mean that we leave the present moment to fantasize on a better future that doesn't exist. It can lead us to be despondent as well if we compare ourselves to other people. Teddy Roosevelt famously said, comparison is the thief of joy. If you're comparing yourself to someone else that can run a 5K quicker than you, it can diminish our kindness to ourselves, can risk injury if we keep pushing ourselves, or we can end up just being cruel and nasty to ourselves, punishing over failures. Not that I believe in that word particularly. Helen Nolan described it like this. She said, running is about finding the balance between challenging and pushing myself too far. That balance between those two things, challenging and pushing myself too far. She said it's that Goldilocks zone, the ethereal unicorn that it is. And I find running is a great way of noticing my internal dialogue when different parts of me are speaking. A part that wants to be faster and pushes me. A part that wants to be mindful or reflective. A part that wants to give up and stop, or can be bloody horrible, a drill sergeant that's self-critical. Noticing these inner dialogues within the safety of a jog enables us to see our expectations of ourselves. It gives opportunity to practice kindness to ourselves, to recognize our limits as well, and it's good if we know our limits. It enables us to observe those voices and to integrate them. It enables us to have dialogue between our busy minds, between our body physically doing things, between our feelings. Recently, I took a fortnight off running. I had a chest infection. As a asthmatic, I seem prone to them. It was hard, actually, to decide not to run. And it took bravery to listen to the words that I've told so many other people to respect the body when it's not capable on a given day and it needs to rest. Some days our muscles will ache. We'll be carrying stress. We'll be injured. You might be unwell, like me, with my chest infection, or just have an awful lot going on in your life. Some days there won't be a schedule, there won't be time to go out on the run. And the best, bravest, most self-compassionate running tip is don't run. And if you do, run extra slowly. Try and make it the slowest run you've ever done and give yourself a shed ton of grace. It can be challenging. So many of us are haunted by a part of us that just needs rest and love, alongside another part that is constantly forcing us. And they don't get on. I really want to rest. I really want to be loved. Work harder. Go faster. They don't fit. And that can leave us disappointed, burnt out, and feeling like a failure. Running gives a meeting space for those different internal voices within us to meet and hopefully, after the run, to work together as a team because they're all part of us. The final theme that came up in asking what does running mean to you, the final theme that came up was claiming the title of being a runner. Sharon Lamb brought the issue of comfort with that title, runner. How do we qualify as being a runner? Is it based on distance, pace, the number of runs you go on a week? Are we only a runner if we have won a race or been running for a certain amount of time or years? Is the title of runner something that needs to be earned, or can we just choose it? Was I a runner in those 2 weeks when I wasn't running because of a cough? Brings up powerful things, doesn't it, around labels and what defines our identity or being good enough. For me, I'm very happy with that title. I am a runner. I'm not particularly remarkable or special as running. In fact, I'm fairly average for my age and gender from someone who's been actively running for a few years. But I'm happy with the title of runner because I derive meaning and pleasure from it. Running serves me rather than defines me. I remember when I wasn't happy with that title though. And again, there was something liberating when I reached the point where I felt comfortable to say, I'm a runner, even in my imperfection at it. And that's pretty therapeutic in and of itself, to say, I am good enough, and my title doesn't depend on my efforts. There's an app, Strava. It's a little bit like social media that also logs your runs or other kinds of exercise. And Strava calls all of its members athletes. And I don't quite feel comfortable calling myself an athlete. I think mostly because people will assume that it is my profession, and it is very much not. But I do find it quite nourishing to claim the title of runner and to say that, to feel good enough. So, we've reached the end of the video. I asked why people run so we could look at the therapeutic needs being met, and we got 9 different categories from people's answers. We covered the existential around death, aging, purpose. We talked about a chance to process, time for us, changing our perspectives on ourselves. We talked about safety, we talked about freedom, Talked about finding a community, either directly that you run with or indirectly, like the Couch to 5K UK Facebook group. We talked about balancing challenge and progressing mastery with self-compassion. And then finally we talked about what it might mean to claim that title of being a runner. I'm sure that there are other needs that running can meet, and there are other answers to what does being a runner mean to you. You could probably think of another category which would bring it up to that magical blogging number of 10 categories. So do comment your answers below. I am a fairly small channel and do tend to read and respond to all, if not most, comments, as long as they're not too abusive. Thanks for listening. I will likely make a final long-form video on running whilst completing Sonic 3 to finish the Sega Genesis Sonic trilogy. If you are into running, you may want to check out the running playlist on my channel that has many shorts inspired from reflections on runs. I'm mostly a shorts shorts channel, so you'll find lots of shorts on that playlist, as well as the longer video completing Sonic 1. And if you are more interested in this thing around how hobbies or what we do can meet our therapeutic needs, you may also be interested in 2 videos I made on the therapeutic needs being met in gaming and video games. You can also read all of these videos over on www.simonslistening.co.uk as articles, and this video was actually an article that I wrote probably like a year and a half ago or so. You can follow me. I'm on TikTok at Simon's Listening, and I'm on Facebook at Simon's Listening Counselling Services. Finally, if you are thinking of taking the plunge into starting counselling, then do feel free to contact me. I would love to run with you. I mean that metaphorically rather than literally, although who knows, maybe jogging therapy will become a thing. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I wish you well, and thank you. Bye.